Okay, in this video what I want to cover is how to create a kind of a uniform background that blends into the color of this ground here, so that we're able to capture the reflection on the ground of this object. That could be a car, that could be a teapot or anything. I just want to use a teapot now, but I want to capture the reflection on the ground, and I want to have a perfect blend between the floor here and the background, so that it feels like it's kind of an infinite studio. So that's the idea of this demonstration, or this tip. And I got this question from a Max user, and I think it's a good example of how to use different techniques in 3ds Max. So if I render this now, I'm just going to go into the render panel and render that. You know, this is what we get, and I've got an environment color, and I'm going to go back here to rendering environment, and I'm going to provide a color. So I can choose the color I want. So I'll just grab, you know, maybe a color of around 30. And okay, so that's kind of a dark background here, and I want the floor here to be pretty much of the same color, and blend into it. So I'm going to copy that color here, and I'm going to create a material for the ground. I'm going to use this one here. I'm using the Arch and Design material, and I'm going to paste it here. I could use a standard material, same idea. So I'm going to drop it here, and I'm going to render again. So now we've got a little bit of difference here, but that's fine. We're going to try to blend this so that the floor here blends into the background. So we're able to capture that reflection here, and I can even make it a little bit stronger so that we can feel that reflection very strong. So I increased the reflectivity here, and I could blur that by just reducing the glossiness maybe to 0.8 or something like that. So if I render this now, we'll have, and actually blur it a little bit more, maybe 0.5, render, and now we got a little bit of blurry reflection here on the ground. So now let's blend this with the background. To do that, what I'll do is I'll stay focused on the and actually, you know what, I'm just going to create another material. I could use the super cool car paint material, and I'm just going to drop it on the teapot so we can get some nice reflection out of the teapot as well. So we got our setup. We want to blend the background here. I'm going to go back to the plane material, and on the plane material, and I'm going to maximize this here so we can see a bit better, like so. I'm going to go in the bottom where it says special purpose map here, and here on the cutout I'm going to apply a gradient. And you could use a gradient ramp, depending on what you want, but I used a gradient here. So I'm going to show it in the viewport. Now what we have on the plane here is the background here is totally dark. When you use a cutout, everything that is fully black will be fully transparent on the material, and everything that is white will be fully opaque. So what I'll do here is I'll just bring the two colors here to white, and I just need now to define where I want my fading or my start to, where my fading to start. I could also say that to be black, but you see here that we're going to start to have some transparency too early, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to bring that back to white, and just bring this so that we can get a nice little fade of this from the front to the back. You could use a radial as well. The radial, you would need to play with the UV so that the center, the white spot here is right under the object. But you know, with linear, you can blend it with the further background. You can play with the UVs. So what I would suggest is that now that we've created a cutout map, I would use map channel number 2 to make sure that if we've got any type of mapping for the regular material, if we got a tile pattern or anything like that where you got UVs already defined, I would use map channel 2 to make sure that it works correctly. So if I use map channel 2 here, I'm just going to grab the material and just going to trash this to do it again. So I'm going to add a UV map material, and I will make sure that we work on map channel 2. And map channel 2 now it's just a regular planar map. So just in case we've done a mapping for map channel 1. So if I go back to the material editor here, map channel 2 is good. We've got the cutout. So if I render this now, what you're going to get is, you see that we still get the reflection, but as it fades out here, it's perfect on my computer here, but I assume that when you're going to get compressed, you're probably going to have some bending or some lines being drawn horizontally, so because of the gradient of color. But basically, when you do this kind of setup, you're able to have a fully opaque background here, or plane in the foreground, but as it blends out, it fades into the background environment color. If I exaggerate the color between the two, you'll see what's happening. Environment, I'll just make it like fully white, and OK. So now what's going to get is that you get the background, sorry, the floor here is darker, and then it blends the background color, kind of effect of a fog. The beauty of this is that you can define where this happens by just playing with the UVs of the gradient, or by just moving the plane or defining where you want that to happen. So it's a very simple technique to use. So what I'll do now is I'll just run a little script to remove the materials from this object. So I'm gonna just go into the Max Script Listener, bring that up here, and what I want to do is I just want to remove the materials from the object. So I'm going to go for a in selection, and I make sure that all my my objects are selected. Do a dot material equal null. Whoops, null. So basically, we're going back to the wireframe colors for this. For all of the objects in the that were selected. And actually, you know what? This was not selected, so let's go back to Max Scripting, Max Script Listener, and just copy this line that I've just done and paste it so that we go back to our original scene. So what I've got now is the original scene. We don't have any materials applied to this, and I want to change the approach. So if you use Max 2009, the newest version of Max, you don't have to do what I'm going to do. But if you're using Max 2008, which is the version I've got now, you've got a bunch of shaders that are kind of hidden in, and those are the mental ray production shaders. So what I want to do is I want to be able to see those shaders in Max. So what I need to do is I need to exit Max, and once Max is exited, I'm just going to go into program files where I've installed Max 2008, Autodesk Max 2008, and here you see that there's a mental ray folder. So I'm going to open it up. You see that shader standard is here. Shader or include, so you go in include, and here you see production.max.mi file. So I'm just going to open it up, and I use Notepad to open it, and just minimize this, minimize so we can see a bit better. Here we go, and you see that production here dummy is set to hidden, and all of those production shaders are set to hidden. In Max 2009, they have been unhidden, and they are fully supported. But for Max 2008, they're not officially supported. But you can still enable them in Max. So I'm going to go here and say edit, replace, and I'm going to say hidden. So just write hidden, and I replace it by nothing. So replace all, and you'll see that they're all gone. So I'm going to go File, Save. And you know, you could do a backup of this if you wanted to, and then I can start Max again. And when Max is going to be started, I'm just going to pause it while it starts. And here we go. We're ready to continue. So Max has been restarted. So what I'll do here is on the ground, I'll do exactly the same thing as before, but instead of using a regular map, there's a mental ray map and shadow reflection material that is here. So no matter what the background is going to be like, it's gonna capture the reflection, the shadows, and anything you want. So I'm going to grab this material here, drop it on this plane. Now the background is set to black. It's going to cast a shadow. It's going to capture ambient occlusion if I turn it on. And remember, if yeah, it's on by default, so I'm going to capture that as well. And the background, I can replace it with anything I want. So if I render this now, what's going to happen is that I don't get any reflection here. So I'm going to go and say cast reflection, turn it on, and you've got all of the properties of reflection. So now, as you can see, captures the reflection. I can adjust that with the the glossiness here. If I want the glossiness to be 0.8, let's go with that. So it's going to be a little bit it's a bit strong. So let's just sample here. Just go 8 samples, glossiness 0.2, and we should get some nice blurry reflection. So you can play with this material. Now what you want to do is you saw that the background here is just a color set to black. So what I'll do is I'll go into environment, I'll capture that color, copy, and if I just paste that color here, exactly the same color, you're going to get exactly that color on the background, and you've got a perfect transition between the two. What you can do as well is if I go to the environment and I just place the map here, let's just grab I don't know, a gradient RAM or just a regular gradient, and I bring that gradient into the material editor. I'll just change that to some kind of blue to mimic like kind of a sky, and just make it a little bit less saturated here. And here let's just grab some kind of a greenish color, darker greenish color. So that's going to be our background. If I render this now, the background is not fully visible, but what I can do is I can grab that, just copy it, go back to my material here, and in the background here I'm just going to paste it as an instance. So no matter what happens in the background now, we're going to still be able to capture that reflection, but the background is fully visible here in the back. And if I change that, it's going to be fully updated. So those are the two techniques.